Bone is a hard, calcified tissue and can't be sectioned like the soft tissues that you've already seen. Two ways around this problem produce two sorts of preparations. Tissue sections I will present to you in this lecture series will have examples of both. To make a ground section, a chip of dried bone is glued to a backing and then ground down to a very thin section with abrasives. The tissue you see in this image is about 50 micrometers thick. This is much thicker than cut sections, but thin enough to be transparent. Ground sections are not stained. You look directly at the constituents of bone themselves, that is, hydroxyapatite crystals and collagen. Obviously, no soft tissue survived the grinding process. Instead of cells and blood vessels, all you can see are holes or lacunae where they've been. These small air-filled spaces look black. An alternative approach is decalcification. A tissue containing bone is soaked in dilute acid or ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid solution, often abbreviated EDTA, until all the calcium crystals are dissolved. The tissue can then be sectioned in the ordinary way and stained. Decalcified sections show all the soft tissues in and around the bone, such as bone cells, blood vessels, the periosteum, endosteum, and bone marrow. Decalcified bone matrix is highly visible because of the considerable amount of type 1 collagen that remains. At the end of this lecture series, you should be able to recognize bone tissue in ground and decalcified sections, and be able to identify the components or features of bone tissue that are listed below. Make sure you can understand the process of intramembranous bone formation and distinguish adult from woven bone. Also, make sure you understand the process of endochondral bone formation and recognize each of the histological evidence of this process listed below. And then finally, understand the structure of a diarthrosis, or a freely movable joint, and then also a synarthrosis, or an immovable joint.